So we're fastly approaching what is quickly becoming many people's favourite time of the year in AFL, and that is to do with the mid-season draft, mainly because of the speculation and hype and optimism that comes out of it, with some diamonds in the rough that are found and have been found in recent years. For those that don't know, the mid-season draft did come into vogue early in the 90s, but was quickly scrapped and has refound its place in the AFL as of a few years ago. It's a fun period to speculate, and with Collingwood's, I guess, situation now having to depend on the small forwards thriving in our game, most recently thanks to injuries that have been dealt out to players like Jeremy Howe and Brody Myercheck, even with Nathan Kruger in the VFL, Dan McStay, the ACL last year, early in the preseason actually, and then I guess failed form or tried players like Ash Johnson thus far in this year, gives us reason to look at key forward or key tall prospects in this year's mid-season draft to help buffer our list essentially. In the VFL, we can see we've sort of hit our depth limits with a lot of the youngsters coming up and performing really well at AFL level, but it shows that our VFL team is now struggling and might be the right time to bleed in some new prosperous players that could hopefully have an impact for Collingwood at VFL and hopefully at AFL level in 2024. As far as list availabilities are concerned, with Nathan Murphy's retirement, that opened up a spot for the mid-season draft, and I think with Aiden Begg suffering a knee injury recently, that extra spot might be opened up with the next couple of weeks leading up to that mid-season draft. Some people aren't really fazed by the mid-season draft. I'm not too sure why that is. People think it's just a pool of rejects. That's not true. There have been some serious nuggets within those mid-season drafts. Just looking at here, we've got one who's actually finding some form quite recently in Ryan Marriage at the West Coast Eagles, playing as that key tall. He was the pick number one either last year or the year before that. It just shows that these key talls can find a home at AFL level with the right nurturing, and a club like Collingwood wouldn't be too bad to hone your craft around the quality players that are there on a daily basis in a training environment. So yeah, Ryan Marriage has done really well. Sam Durham for Essendon, he's absolutely killed it this year and is one of the big reasons why they're now in the top four. He did a really good job on Marcus Bontempelli a few weeks ago and even kicked a goal while on him and collecting a handful of disposals himself. So he's been a really feel-good story. D'Ambrosio was initially drafted in the mid-season draft by Essendon. He is now at Hawthorn and he's doing very well. Jai Newcomb, probably one of the greatest successes out of that, drafted from the Box Hill Hawks into the AFL side, and he's now, I guess, one of the heads of the midfield trio that comprises of, right now, I think it's Warple, Newcomb himself, and Will Day. So he's obviously having a prominent impact there and is really taking on some leadership roles as he progresses his development at AFL level. Another player who's doing really well at AFL level now is Jordan Boyd, and he was taken very late in the mid-season draft a few years ago. He was one of the last picks, and he's now known as well-renowned as one of the best kicks in AFL coming off the halfback flank, and we know how desirable that role is right now given the way the game is played. As far as what success Collingwood has seen in the mid-season draft, well, we've had players like John Noble, who just had his milestone game on the weekend and is absolutely killing it this year, a weapon with the ball and is really improving on the defensive side. You've got Ash Johnson, who has had his impacts at given times throughout his tenure at Collingwood at AFL level. Hopefully we do see a little bit more from Ash Johnson this year and finds another form, a little bit of a purple patch just to build his confidence. Aiden Begg, who's obviously a young, budding, developing key ruck tall forward for us, who's doing really well at VFL level. And Josh Carmichael, who had an immediate impact when he was initially drafted. Hasn't seen a lot of AFL footy since that year he got drafted, but nonetheless still had an immediate impact, which is probably what we need when it comes to the key tall pool selection this year. We want somebody who's ready-made, and maybe I'll trickle in a few prospects that we can maybe look at as well. The first player I want to talk about is Hugh Dixon, who currently plays for Southport Sharks in the VFL. He was previously playing for West Coast and Fremantle in the AFL, had a handful of games. He's 197 centimetres, key forward, 25 years old. So he's at that ripe age as a key tall where he's probably really starting to find his feet and finding his identity within the game. We know how tough it can be to transition as a key tall forward from your junior level into AFL level. You see players like Max King and Ben King and even like Harrison Jones at Essendon, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other players that I can't think of right now who are taking their time, but they were highly touted coming into the league. It's just a matter of just being patient with them and reaping the fruits of the labour of the labours of honing their craft as time goes on. So Hugh Dixon might be a good look. He's currently averaging 2 goals a game in the VFL, and most recently on the weekend he had 20 disposals, 3 goals and 11 marks, and 2 goal assists versus the Northern Bullants. So they're a bottom side, but to have an impact like he did as a key tall forward on the weekend will only help his case in this mid-season draft. I'm not sure where a lot of these guys will go. Obviously, we're Collingwood are top 6 right now, so we won't get the higher picks, but hopefully if one of these players slide down to our pick, we can capitalize on that and take them into our loving arms and give them an opportunity at Collingwood. This one's an interesting one. I haven't seen much talk of this player when it comes to the mid-season draft this year thus far, but I'm talking about Liam McMahon, who was originally drafted by Collingwood in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, taken as pick 31. He didn't feature at AFL level and then was subsequently eventually delisted. He moved over to Carlton's VFL side. He's 194 centimetres, or was 194 centimetres coming into the league. He's now 198 centimetres, still young, and he's kicked 15 goals in 6 games for Carlton this year and kicked 4 on the weekend against Williamstown. 6'6" giant. So I'm not sure if he's up to it, but his stats definitely suggest that he could make a case, and he's obviously had the profile as a junior that he has the talent to make it at AFL level. So I'm wondering if that's something we're quietly looking into for the mid-season draft. Next player, and this guy is on the tip of everybody's tongues when it comes to the upcoming draft. It's Joe Pike from the Geelong Falcons. He's a top ager. Kind of looks like Sam de Koning, if I'm being honest with you, but he's highly touted. I'm not sure how high, again, he'll, come out of that mid-season draft, but he's currently averaging 15 disposals per game as a ruck forward, standing at 203 centimetres tall. He played the Gold Coast Suns most recently, had 19 disposals and a goal. So there's a lot of hype about him. I'm not sure about his immediate impact at AFL level, but definitely a strong prospect for the AFL level moving forward in the medium to long term. Another player who is actually currently playing for Collingwood in our VFL side is Jack Hutchinson, 22 years old, high flyer, takes similar marks to Jeremy Howe, so obviously electric on that front, 190 centimetres. He's probably one of those players who's probably actually going to go quite high. That's what I've been told. He might go as pick 1, but again, if he happens to slide, be happy to take him. He's kicked 9 goals in 7 games in a struggling side, again, being Collingwood's VFL side because of the amount of players that have had to push up to AFL level. He's also had 1 game off the halfback flank, which would have affected his goal ratio per game. So if he doesn't obviously come to Collingwood, I'm happy to see him thrive somewhere else coming through the Collingwood VFL system. Next up is a player from the Waffle. Now, just be mindful that the Waffle isn't the strongest state league across the grounds of the nations. So you've got the Sandful, that's quite highly touted, and then obviously the VFL. But nevertheless, we're talking about Jacob Blight, a 23-year-old, 198 centimetre player playing for Peel Thunder in the Waffle. He's a key defender, but I do suggest that Collingwood do need a key tall, whether it be most desirably a forward, but if we can get a key tall as well to compete with the likes of Billy Frampton and Charlie Dean in the back line, then that would be worth its weight in gold. He's currently collecting 15 to 20 disposals per game. In a winning team, they're currently 5-1, and he's had over 10 marks in 2 games out of the 6 games he's played thus far this season. And like I said, the Waffle is a weaker competition, but take it with a grain of salt. But he seems to be ready. He's a big-bodied young player at the age of 23. Might be worth a look in. There's another player that we've already had quite a good look at in the Collingwood helm during the supplementary selection period during the pre-season. And that's Brinn Little. He's an ex-Port Adelaide ruckman. He played 6 games and he was actually taken in the mid-season draft in 2022. He's currently 24 years old and 204 centimetres, so similar to Hugh Dixon, who's coming into the ripe age, the mid-20s where they're really starting to find themselves. Might be worth a look in. I wonder how Collingwood rated his pre-season. Is it worth getting him back involved and seeing if he's up to the rigors of AFL? Obviously, he was opted out for in that pre-season in favour of Josh Eyre, who's currently recovering from that hamstring tendon, who's highly touted to come into the team and really have an impact for us. Jack Bytel and Lockie Sullivan, who have already featured at AFL level. So we've done well with those players, but so you could suggest he was hindered by the fact that he was coming up against top class players who were actually ready to play AFL. He did feature in that Sample versus the Waffle showcase game on the weekend. I heard he was outclassed by the opposing ruckman, but in the Waffle, he's been averaging 16 disposals and kicking a goal a game. So let's see if we have a look at Brinn Little once again. The final player that I want to mention is a bit of a left field sort of, I guess, look in, and that's Ned Long, who's currently playing for Collingwood in the VFL side. He's 21 years old. He's a big-bodied midfielder standing at 194 centimetres. He previously played for Hawthorn. He played 5 games and was selected in the rookie draft in 2022. He was deprived of opportunities there simply because of the acquisitions of Jai Newcomb in that mid-season draft and then Will Day. And James Worpel seems to always be holding his spot as he's a hard-nosed midfielder that they love to have in the team on a consistent basis. So not really the right place at the right time for Ned Long, but he's killing it in the VFL right now for Collingwood. He's had multiple MVP performances as voted by Josh Fraser, the VFL coach. He's currently averaging 23 disposals per game. He's having 2 scoring shots per game. He's quite inaccurate, so that's why I say 2 scoring shots. He's kicked a few goals, but he could have a couple more if he was a bit more accurate. And he's a tackling machine. 11 tackles in both of his last 2 games. So he definitely, I guess, emanates that pressure model that Collingwood look for in players when drafting and looking to acquire these players. So I would love to see his, effort rewarded with maybe an opportunity in the mid-season draft. There's not a lot of talk about that, but maybe that's someone we go for if we can't go for a key tall. As we've seen, Collingwood have been highly adaptable to the fact that we haven't had many key talls available in the forward half early in the season. We've relied heavily on the small forwards, so that's probably why we aren't necessarily looking for smaller players in this mid-season draft, as there is quite a nice number of players that fit the realm of a small to medium-sized midfielder or forward, but we just don't need that right now. If I can remember, we've got Bobby Hill, we got Bo McCreary, we got Lockie Schultz, we got Jamie Elliott, and then we got Joe Richards, who is just coming into his own at AFL level, and he's absolutely killing it in the last 2 games. Played against West Coast, did well, and then came up against an even better opposition in Adelaide and held his own within that game. So there's no real need for those smaller sized forwards, and then in the midfield, we've already got smaller players like Nick Dacos, Lockie Sullivan. Finn McRae is probably more big-bodied, so I wouldn't suggest that he's smaller, but I feel like we already have a good mixture of those sized players in the small to medium domain. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. How desperate are we for a key tall in the mid-season draft? Or are you guys more optimistic that players like Nathan Kruger and Ash Johnson can find some form and continuity at AFL level? I'm a little bit erring on the side of caution. I think it'd be nice to get some taller players to, I guess, apply more pressure for spots in the key tall realm. I think Mason Cox himself as well is probably underperforming a little bit. I know he's not a big statistical accumulator, and I know he always causes problems in the aerial capacity of the game for opposition sides, and they always have to study that heavily, but I think he's only getting older. It might be time to really add some competition in the key tall stocks. And because we don't have a first round pick in the upcoming draft, this might be our best opportunity at getting a key tall. And then from there, we can look at free agency in the next couple of years as, I guess, our older players slowly filter out and transition into life after footy. So that's all I've got, guys. You let me know, is there anybody else I've missed? I just really wanted to focus on the key tools. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comment section. I'd be all ears to see what you guys are seeing, maybe interstate or at another level. Thanks, guys. Bye.